Hey, welcome to our interview show. It's called Stray Cats and Other Anomalies. I'm basically going to be talking with people who have done life a little differently. They're taking paths that aren't very trodden. There's just, like jungle and weeds to go through, all the other fun stuff. But they've somehow made it work like bosses. And one of those bosses is Jess Bruce. She just got off the mountain in Kilimanjaro. She's literally in Tanzania right now, so we're going to hear from her. What city are you in again? Tell me again.
So we're in a city called Moshi,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just outside of Kilimanjaro National Park. So this is the city that people that want to climb the mountain, they have to go from here, like depart from here, and then they arrive back here after the climb. So it's not huge, but it's definitely got enough going on. Spent some time exploring after the climb, but yeah, they like pick you up here, take you up the mountain, and then drop you off back here. So pretty busy place.
You're not in a vehicle while you're climbing, right?
No, so they drive you up to, they've got like various gates,
Mm-hmm.
which are different entrance points, and depending like which route you're doing, they'll drop you at a different gate. So we did drive in a van from town for a couple hours on the first day, and
Mm-hmm.
then they dropped us off there, and then from there you walk, and it's like total of about 43 miles, like 70 kilometers.
Oh my God.
But it's split up over so many days, like it's not extra strenuous, it's just your altitude acclimation.
Wow. What was the weather like?
It was pretty good. We didn't have any rain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the rainy season, so that was like really standard. But like the nights were cold, but we had, you could rent equipment, and we also had our own stuff, and we're pretty warm with thermals and stuff. And the days were like fairly clear and sunny. There was time, especially like higher up in the mountain at some of the higher camps, that like the cloud would roll in, and it was super, just quite moody and really interesting with low cloud. But it was fairly clear and no rain, which was the main thing. So that was cool. A little bit of snow on like the last day as well. As we were coming down, like you could see part of the mountain had a bit of snow on it. So that was kind of
okay. Cool. So you traveled with Katie that we talked about in our first little interview, that Katie and you came up with this plan in the galley at Antarctica.
Yeah.
How was it being traveling companions?
Yeah, really good. I mean, we had already hung out in New Zealand after being in Antarctica, so it wasn't like that whole weird thing of like, how do you relate to someone that you've only worked with in this weird place? So like, that was all good. And I had actually gone to Alaska. I don't remember if I said that in the last conversation we had, but I had been up there visiting her before this as well.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I heard that she's a really good travel companion. Like she's fun to do stuff with.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like a group of us, we're in New Zealand together for a bit. I know her and Shelby and Christian did a bit of a tour before I flew in, and then we all hung out for a bit after Claire and me and some other people arrived as well. So that was good.
Yay. Okay, so what were your impressions being on the mountain of different things? Like I want to ask you questions, but I also want you to be able to like tell me the stories that are there for you.
Okay. I don't really know where to start with that.
It's so hard to travel, like talk about travel in some ways. Like I want to know about the food. I want to know what it was like to travel with the guides. I want to know like how was sleeping.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can tell you all those things. The food was really, really
like, look, this was really cool thing happened that I don't have like, I can't like tell which. if I don't ask you the right questions, just tell me some stuff you want to say.
Yeah, that's all good. Like the food was awesome. The porters bring up like really exorbitant amounts of food and really cool things. Like we had
Hmm.
like hot lunches and dinners every day and breakfast, like all 3 meals. They would make soups for lunch and dinner, and then we had like something hot and always salads and fresh fruit. Like that was what got me, because when you're used to hiking, it's usually just like dehydrated food or like the lightest things you can
Totally.
carry. But
Yeah.
they had full on like watermelon, and we had like
Oh my gosh.
banana and pineapple, and salads that had tomatoes in them, and like meats for every meal. And there was just like a whole bunch of food, which was cool. I mean, I think a lot of that's like sort of standard what a lot of companies do, but it was pretty impressive. Like these guys are carrying like gas canisters up with them so they can cook food, and like
Wow.
just everything. They carry everything. Yeah. But the cool thing about that too is that they weigh their gear before they leave. So they have a max capacity that each person can carry. So, they're not having to do too much because they're going the same way we do, like up this mountain, and
Yeah.
having to bring a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that was definitely different for me. I've never seen anything like that,
Hmm.
or been on any kind of hike like that where you have people like catering to you. But it was really cool in the same way, because you're tired and you're at this different altitude that's way higher than anything I've been to before, and then you
Really?
don't really have energy because all your energy is like being used to just kind of push through. So it's really cool to be able to go back and just have like food ready for you, and everything just set up, tea and coffee and all of that. So that was really cool. And it felt like more of a trek, because you have like your mess tent where like there were 8 people in our team, so all 8
Hmm.
people would eat in there. And then we had our tents set up when we got to camp and all that kind of stuff.
Oh
So
my
that was
god.
pretty cool. Yeah, and then the
There was
guides
levels
were
of like
really good.
survival. Like there was levels of survival that you didn't have to think about, which normally you might.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because with normal, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, for one, in Tanzania, you actually can't do the hike solo. So you have to
Hmm.
legally you have to go with guides, which means porters and other people helping out, which is also it provides industry and jobs, and it's a big deal out here. So there's kind of no avoiding like going with a tour kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that works out to your advantage too, because these people have done this heaps of times. They know the signs to look for, like if people aren't feeling well, because it's 19,000 something feet, so
Wow.
nearly 6,000 meters. Like it's very very high, and so like people do get like pulmonary edema or cerebral edema and stuff like that. So they're on the lookout for that too, and they're doing what they can, kind of letting us rest and like carrying a lot of the gear and doing a lot of like the hard yards, and just sort of letting us focus on getting acclimated and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, that part of it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's only 10, like Mount Everest is 30,000 feet. So you guys are pretty high up there. Jesus.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
yeah, it's crazy too, because you don't really think about it, because Kili, without you don't need technical equipment, so it's not like any of those mountains. I mean, New Zealand's highest mountain is, I don't even offhand know 100%, but it's something like 14,000 something feet, and that is like a treacherous mountain that you need
Wow.
alpine experience on. You need all sorts of gear. There's a bunch of like avalanches and stuff, and this was like, you know, 5,000 feet higher than that, and you can walk up in shoes and hiking boots. So like that part of it is pretty cool, but like with that comes all of that stuff, way less oxygen in the air,
Hmm.
just like headaches and people that get sick, if they push themselves too hard. You've got to, that was a weird bit, was walking really slowly, and they tell you that they're like pole, which is like slow
Mm-hmm.
when you're walking up, and it really is just like one foot in front of the other, just really really slow, but that's the way that you can acclimate, and that's how you like prevent a lot of the illnesses that come along. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool to be aware of that, because I think you don't see a bunch of snow, you don't see a bunch of that stuff, and you can kind of be like, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal, it's just like walking up a hill anywhere else. But no,
Totally.
you have way less oxygen, you walk to go to the bathroom and you're like puffed and out of breath, and that's kind of
Was
weird.
it
But
was it like a pretty gradual, like was it steeper than what I'm trying to think of that point at McMurdo Station that everybody loved going up, but
Oh, uphill.
yeah.
So very few times there was like this wall. It was called Barranco Wall that we had to climb up, and that would be similar gradient to that. It's like pretty steep, straight shoot up. But for the most part, the climb was fairly good. Like they spaced it out to have good switchbacks, and they really like where the camps are positioned is really good. You know, you have enough time to say you do like your 5 or 6 hours, and then you arrive and you're not completely wiped. You know, it was like a easy enough kind of gradual incline because
did you see other groups? Like, do you pass other groups, or were you guys pretty much the only people?
Oh my god, so many other groups. Yeah, it's like high season right now. There were heaps. It depended too, like there's a bunch of different routes up the mountain. We were on Lemosho, and there were definitely a couple groups. There were 2 groups that went with our same company, so we were sort of the same because we were both doing the 7 days, so we would, you know, cross paths with each other daily. And then there were a bunch of other groups you got to kind of recognize because they were doing the same time frame as you. And then besides that, just like near summit day, maybe a couple of days out, like some of the other routes meet up with our one, and so you end up it's really chaotic. It's like you wake up at 10:30 to do the summit push in the dark because you know, the aim is to kind of get there around sunrise. So you just see all these trails of headlamps going up the hill, and it's like, okay,
wow,
this is going to be busy. So it was very, very busy, and it made me think of like when people talk about doing Mount Everest and how, like, you know, it's not the world's hardest mountain from what I hear if you're a mountaineer, but the biggest issue is just the amount of people. Like they bottleneck and they end up waiting hours. I mean, ours wasn't like that, but you know, it was definitely busy, and like we got to the summit and it was really cool and like this amazing experience, but it was also super hectic because everyone wanted their photo at the side. You had like you don't want to stay there too long because it's so high up, so the guides are like, okay, we want to get you, you know, down sort of fast. And then
we want to get you down so we don't have to carry you down.
Exactly, totally that. And then you have like 2 groups behind you and they're all waiting for their photos, so it was just like this very, very quick, like hectic thing. It was, it's sort of hard to explain because I was like, the build up to it was just so special and so emotional, and then you get there and you're like, okay, quick, what am I going to do? I'm going to get this like one photo and then our group photo, and then I need to pee, so I got to run over somewhere else.
My gosh, that's crazy.
All that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
So it definitely felt really, really good, and it was like a relief to be up there. But yeah, you're very, like, the other side of those photos is like 50 people waiting.
To get this thing. That's really cool. I mean, it's so interesting to hear that things that people don't realize about these major mountains.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you feel like my sense from your description is like there was a lot of respect for the mountain, like in the process, and like from the people and the climbers and the people that work there? Is that something that you experienced? Or
yeah, definitely. So the Tanzanian government actually, I didn't know about this till we were on the mountain, but they've banned single-use plastic bottles and plastic bags from the mountain. So people are encouraged to, you know, like you have to use like your bottles, like your Nalgene's or Hydro Flasks or whatever you have. So there's definitely a level of like conservation on that front of like they realize that they want this. There's a lot of people coming here. They want to make sure that the mountain stays really nice, but also in saying that there's a lot of people doing this every day right now, and you know, things could get pretty busy and sort of crazy at the camps. You know, there might be like, I'm just throwing a figure out there, but there might be like 150 people at one camp, and they're all using like these 3 like squatting holes to use the bathroom or like stuff like that, you know. But there definitely is there definitely is a respect, and I would say it's pretty nice. But I don't have a lot of like that kind of stuff to compare it to. It's definitely not the same as a hike in New Zealand, but none of the hikes in New Zealand are that world renowned, that we don't have a Kilimanjaro. So,
Wow.
it's just a huge undertaking, and there's just so many people in the mountain. But yeah, there are certain measures, like some of the camps you need a special permit for and things like that. So I think they're really trying to, kind of respect,
do their best
the
to
landscape.
channel it like in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Did you ever get any, like, what is Kilimanjaro named after, or what's the meaning behind the name? I can also look it up if you don't know.
Yeah, look it up. That's a good question that I never thought to ask.
What?
I don't know, but you can look it up and tell us both.
Okay. Kilimanjaro mean, let's see here. Meaning, mountain I failed to climb simply because getting up the mountain. Wow. So basically, like, this is a hard mountain is what it's named after. The translation.
Oh,
Also,
cool. Okay.
Mountain of Greatness is also what I'm seeing. Mountain of Caravans. Interesting. Greatness.
Caravans.
I'm seeing different meanings here, but it looks like it might be Swahili, a Swahili word.
Yeah, it would make sense if it was Swahili. It's funny. I was asking the guides all sorts of obscure questions every day, but I didn't even think to ask that.
It's okay. You can just go back and talk at the real scoop. You're still there. See if you can get more info.
That's true.
What was it like? Like, was the flight over pretty good? And like when you got to Moshi, what was that transportation? Did you fly into that city?
So actually, the airport is called Kilimanjaro International Airport, and it's sort of halfway between Moshi and another town called Arusha. But a lot of the companies, they do transfers from the airport, so they get you from there. But yeah, we flew from the US, so I went from Seattle. That was a 11.5-hour flight to Istanbul, and then it was like a 3-hour layover in Istanbul, and then it was a 7.5-hour flight. And it's kind of cool because Istanbul and Tanzania are on the same time zone, so you're just flying down. It was such a cool thing to watch on like the flight screen on the plane, because you're just going just straight south, which was kind of cool. But yeah, that one was about 7.5 hours, so it was like a day and a half all up of travel. And then that's like in Dar, it was like about a 3-hour wait until the small regional plane that takes you to Kilimanjaro. Yeah, so we were talking about this because some people do the whole trip, which is like, if you do the 7-day, it would be like 9 days. You have a night's accommodation on either end. But a lot of the people we climbed with were going straight back to work or back to the States, or somewhere else for like a couple of days. But it was just kind of interesting because it's like, man, that's a whole bunch of flying to like a huge commitment for me. I need a day to recover. Yeah, so I thought that was quite interesting. But yeah, it is a big day of flying. Most of our team was from the US, so different parts. Some flew through Dallas. Yeah, we had a lady flying from New Mexico, and then there was us, of course, and then we had a lady who was Russian. That was really interesting talking to her. But yeah, she's living in France right now, and she had to fly back the next day at 6 a.m. right after we did the climb. So yeah, so it's pretty interesting.
When are you
but
flying
it is like
out?
a real we don't fly out till the 13th, and that's from Zanzibar, so we'll be out there. Katie's going to go back to the States to get ready for her deployment, and I'm going to fly to Kathmandu to meet my friend in Nepal. So
what? Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me just update people. We're talking with Jess Bruce. She is currently in can you say the name? I want to pronounce it right. Moshi?
Yeah, no worries. I'm probably also not pronouncing it right, but yeah, Moshi. In northern Tanzania.
Yes, Moshi in northern Tanzania. Jess, thank you so much for talking. This is truly amazing. So we're talking with Jess. She's currently in Tanzania. She just got done hiking Kilimanjaro, and she just turned 20. Are you sharing?
29.
29. She just turned 29.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to tell you. You add in when I pause.
All
She
good.
just turned 29. Did you turn 29 on the mountain?
No, it was actually it was yesterday, which was Sunday. So we came down on Saturday,
Yeah.
and then my birthday was Sunday. But I think that was a bit better because then I could relax and just be, not in
Yeah,
this
it
state
wasn't
of
like the
planning.
added pressure of like, oh my God. Yeah, that would have been annoying. That sounds
Yeah,
perfect.
totally.
Good landing. So we're talking with Jess. She just climbed Mount Kilamanjaro. Amazingly, before that, she was working in Greenland for an entire season. And then before that, she was working at McMurdo, Antarctica. In between that, she was in Alaska. This is incredible. She's going, and she sounds like she's also going to do more exploring. So I'm talking to people basically who kind of have chosen to live their life currently or in the future or the past a little bit off the beaten path, like have chosen not to do the sort of recommended thing like the 9 to 5 job. I don't know. I don't even know if that's still alive, but just talking to people that have made an interesting life and do it out of choosing and are excited about it and happy. I just think it's incredible. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about that. And I forgot what I was going to just ask you. I think I just asked you a question. Help me.
I don't know if you were going to ask me about, does it feel weird to have chosen a different, like off the beaten path? I assume that's where you were going.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah, for sure, like I've never, to tell the truth, I never thought much about it earlier on. So, it started nearly 10 years ago. I was 20 and I was like, I don't want to be at university anymore. I want to travel in the States. And like, then it was like, oh, you're like this, 20, 21-year-old or whatever. And I know I'm still pretty young, but like now more like from, certain like extended relatives and family members and stuff like that. Not my immediate family. They're pretty really understanding actually. But some people, I've heard certain comments like, oh, is she going to settle down? Like it's become this switch of like, okay, well now, like, is it out of your system? Are you ready to
Stop
be
being
done
so
yet?
amazing, Jess. Just settle down.
Thank you. But yeah, it's just like, it's just interesting because I've never thought of it that way. I don't think of it like, oh, you just get out of your system and you stop. It's like, nah, like this is the life you choose, and you may end up never not doing that. And I think that that's totally fine. And I think nowadays it's far more accepted and easier. We have the internet, we have everything at our fingertips on a phone. You can be almost anywhere on earth. I mean, we were down in Antarctica and it's still, albeit there's no Wi-Fi, but you still have connectivity no matter where you are almost.
Incredible.
And it makes this kind of lifestyle very attainable. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it just made more sense. Like I was so scared to think of a 9 to 5 or that kind of life, like just picking somewhere to live and just doing that. I don't know. That wasn't really for me personally.
Wow. Okay, so this is your 7th continent. So you've now officially traveled to every continent on the planet.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Do you consider yourself a dual citizen of New Zealand and the US?
Yeah. So with mum being from the States and me being born in New Zealand, totally that. Sometimes people sort of ask you like which place you connect to the most, but really for me it's both of them, which is pretty cool. Like half and half. I'm not like, I was born and raised in New Zealand but have such a connection with the US. Like I really love being there. I love the culture, the people, and all of that kind of stuff, and I have a lot of family there too. So yeah, definitely consider myself dual. Like both places are home to me. Sometimes like just by default I'll say home meaning New Zealand just because like that's where I grew up. But yeah, definitely both are really important.
What is like your favorite place in the US that you've spent time in? Like, are there places where you like long for? Would you consider Alaska one of those places?
Absolutely. I was I was just gonna interrupt and be like, Alaska.
Alaska. Yeah. How did you start? Is that where you first started when you were 21? Like going out and doing contract work, or Jess, did we lose you? Jess, can you hear me? Okay, I think she's going to come back. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm hoping this will be able to continue. We're talking with Jess Bruce. She's in Moshi, Tanzania, and internet there's a little bit spotty. We've been able to talk to her. She just got off the mountain, Mt Kilamanjaro. Previous to that, she was in Alaska, and then previous to that, she was in Greenland, and then previous to that, she was in McMurdo, Antarctica, where we first met. Let me see what is happening. Hopefully she'll come back to us. Hey, Jess, you there?
I am.
Oh,
yeah.
hey.
I don't know what happened, but
yeah,
something in the Wi-Fi kind of cut off.
Hey, no worries. It happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just asking you a little bit about Alaska. I think you were starting to say, is that where you started your first travel job when you left university?
No, it was the second one though. So the first summer I did in the States was in Alaska. And that was just kind of like, that was in Denali National Park, and I was like, all right, this is cool. Like this big, like wide open space.
Yeah.
Lots of just, yeah, I can't even really describe it, but there's just so much going on in that state, and there's like every place you go has a different vibe and a different like landscape and different things going on, and it's just, yeah, it's just awesome. So for sure there. Also my mom is from LA in California, so that's pretty special because it's the easiest place to fly into from New Zealand, and so I often just like stop by and stay with family there and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
I love it. Wow, it sounds like you've been exposed, and you've exposed yourself to just so many different like types of places on the planet. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's the goal, really.
Since you mentioned Denali, I just want to shout out Joe Nathan again. He got in touch because he was really excited to hear your interview and Shelby's interview, and he asked me, and he was just like, oh, I'm driving through Denali, so I can't get on live, so like send me a copy. So I just want to shout him out since you mentioned Denali. What's up, Joe Nathan, if you get to hear this?
Oh yeah, hey Joe Nathan. We caught up pretty briefly, but I did see him when I was there, so that was cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the three amigos.
Oh, okay.
Joey, Kyle, and Dan.
Wait,
we're all working together.
Sorry, who?
Joey.
Uh-huh.
Joey, Kyle, and Dan Asik, who was the
Aw, I love Kyle so much. I wonder, I think I thought about them. I was like, did they ever make that happen? Sounds like they did.
Yeah, they seem to be having a good time too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You deserve it. So we worked, Joey, all three of those guys are cooks. So we all like cooked together. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you heard Shelby's interview, but he apparently thinks that cooks didn't have a hard job.
Okay, I didn't hear his interview, but wow, really? I wonder what his reasoning was.
I was asking.
You had a very tasked out day, right? Like you could never finish early or anything like that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of flexibility, no. And
yeah.
a lot of levels of different management, like a lot of, you've got your sous chef, and then you've got like Lauren, then you've got Rob, who, was kind of back there. But I think we definitely had a lot of management that that other departments didn't get to experience. But, not to say that it was bad, but it's a lot.
It's a lot of eyes on you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which like we also had that too, but there were certain things like if we, on PMs, if you finished a little early, you could leave a bit early. Like not a lot, but like there were those little flexibilities that I was like, as a cook, you just never got that.
Yeah.
That wasn't gonna happen.
It was just funny. I was like, are you troll? I was telling Shelby, I was like, I can't tell if you're trolling me or if you actually believe that. It's like,
Oh my God. He probably does. It's Shelby. No, we love Shelby. I didn't see, when did you interview him? Have you posted
oh
it,
yeah,
I
it's on
assume?
YouTube. I'll totally,
Okay.
yeah, I'll totally send it to you.
Yeah, please do, because I want to see it. It'll probably be funny. I remember when we did our radio,
Oh my
when
God.
me and him came on the radio with you and Lily, that was a blast.
That's great. Yes, I missed those days. I told him, I was like, hey, you do me a favor, like go in the radio station, go in the radio booth and call me on the air. And I'll tell you how to do that. Like I know what phone, you have to go get the phone from the safety department because it has speaker, and then you put like one of the microphones like right by the speaker. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so maybe we can all get on the air. I think that'd just be funny to be on the air there. Okay, so I did ask Shelby some funny questions. So I'll ask you a few funny questions before we get back to your travels and your life.
Okay.
What's your favorite sleeping position?
Always on my stomach. I cannot fall asleep on my back.
Holy cannoli,
Yeah.
girl. Oh,
Why is that?
careful.
Is that weird?
Eventually, no, I love sleeping on my stomach, but it starts to like mess your back up eventually. I'm sorry.
I'm sure it has, because it's the only way I've slept like my whole life thus far. So
Your back is
probably. But yeah, I mean, I think if I'm super tired, maybe I'll fall asleep on my back. But yeah, maybe side, but mostly.
Oh wait, no,
yeah,
you sleep
roll
actually on your
tummy.
back, not your belly. Wait, which one? Sorry.
No, definitely stomach.
Okay.
I was saying, like, if I'm super tired, maybe I'll fall asleep lying on my back, but that's not normal.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I actually have an invention in mind to try to kind of give belly sleepers the same feeling of sleeping on the belly, but sleeping on the back, just because it's just a little easier on your body, unless your body just doesn't care. And some people's bodies are really, really flexible and don't care. So maybe you're one of those lucky people. But
Okay,
yeah.
you've given me something to worry about.
Oh, no.
I've never thought about that
No,
before.
your body would honestly tell you. It, like my body's like, stop it, just stop it. Yeah, you would know. You would know.
Okay, I'm not great at listening to it sometimes, but that's a fair point.
That's so funny. Okay, so second quick question. This is actually kind of a big question, but I think it's my new question. So, have you ever met what you would consider a unicorn? And I'll tell you what I mean by that, which is not everybody's gonna see. So a unicorn is a symbol for a very, very unique, totally amazing, incredible person. So not everybody's gonna see your unicorn. So not everybody would be able to recognize what you would see as a unicorn. And I'll like an example for me, somebody that everybody would know, somebody that's well known. Dolly Parton, I think, is like
Oh man,
an unusual, beautiful, strong, intelligent, fun, all the things that she embodies, incredible. You're just like mind blown. So I'm just wondering if you've ever met like and I, not anybody that's particularly famous or whatever, but have you ever met a unicorn where you're just like, that was such an incredible person?
I feel like that's happened a couple times.
I love that.
But two people that stick out are people that I knew when I was back in New Zealand in childhood. One of them, she actually works on TV now. You guys don't have this in your schools, but we have a thing called a head boy and a head girl, and they're like,
okay,
basically in your last year of high school, they're like the leaders of the class, and they like run assemblies and all this stuff. It's a very British thing, I think. But yeah, she was
Harry Potter. I heard about the head girl.
Yeah, the prefix. Yeah, it's like that. So she was the one in our school, and she was the kind of person, I knew her from a pretty young age because she was in the same church as me, and we were like, Catholic high schools, Catholic primary school, so all of that. And just like really, really one of those people you meet and you just are like, yeah, you're gonna go far. Like I just know. I'm like 8 years old, but I can tell you're different. There's something different
Shining,
about them.
like such a bright light. Wow.
Yeah, really though, like just so. For me, it's like people that don't care about being who they are. Like they just don't. You're in high school, like everyone's trying to be the same. You don't want to stick out because that's weird, and you don't want to be weird. But like she was always like pretty cool, but in a different way. Like it wasn't someone that everybody was like, oh, you're the most popular or whatever it was, but just really like unique and had a lot of passion and talent, and like didn't care about like showing that or like going, because it's not such an American thing, but in New Zealand you don't want to be we call it tall poppy syndrome. You don't want to be the one that sticks out, and it's a huge cultural thing. It's probably due to our British roots, but like you just don't like that's one reason I loved being in the US, was like you're more encouraged to be who you are, and you're more encouraged to say what you're good at and like promote yourself. And in New Zealand we just don't do that. And so it was pretty cool, because like she was humble, but she was never like down on herself or whatever. But yeah, this person, her name is Alice, but yeah, she's someone I think of right away. She's now like badass, traveling the world as like a journalist, working for a TV station in New Zealand, like, and it's cool because like that was her goal from a young age, to always do that. But yeah, that's the one I can think of, in my life, where I'm just like, you were just always different, and that's so cool. Yeah, that's probably my number one. But I like it, like Dolly Parton for sure. She was a real trailblazer too. She was a feminist before it was really feminism. She was just always standing up for people, and yeah, she's great. I can't rate her enough. She's awesome.
I know, I love her so much. One time I took a road trip, and I was in Phoenix coming back to California, and I was on this like really off-road road trip, like let's try this tiny little road and see where it goes. And I happened to find like a 9-section personal, like a reading of her autobiography that she read herself. So I listened to like 9 hours of Dolly Parton reading about her life, which was pretty
that sounds great.
That was good. Okay, so thank you. I love that. I actually now want to know who she is, so I can look your friends, so I can like watch her do.
Oh, absolutely. I can give you her Instagram handle or her Facebook. But yeah, she's just really cool. Yeah.
So we've got 2 minutes left, Jess, and I just want to say, wow, I feel like we scratched the surface, and I would love to do another interview with you. And I would love to talk about Greenland, which I haven't heard a freaking word about, which drives me crazy. Also, yeah, like maybe we'll talk and about setting up another time if you're willing to do this. I honestly truly would love to, and I'll give you a couple weeks to kind of get on your next thing, and then you can look out and say, okay, I'll be ready again. But thank you very much. It was really
no, that sounds great. Okay. I know, I feel like that went pretty fast, and we didn't.
It did. And yeah, it did go pretty fast, because I only have like a 40-minute Zoom thing. So it's basically like gonna just shut us down. But I think it's a good stopping point, and just that there's more chapters. What is, in like 1 minute, can you say tell us again, I know you mentioned it briefly, like what your next steps are like on your path?
Yeah, so after this, immediately, not many years down the line, I'm assuming, we're going to do a bit more travel in Tanzania, do a safari, and check out some other places in the country, and go to an island called Zanzibar that's just off the coast. And they have like really cool beaches and lots of diving and snorkeling and stuff like that. So that should be pretty cool. And then after that, Katie's going to fly back to the US, and I'll carry on to Nepal, and I'll hopefully, depending if my friend is feeling better, I got a friend from New Zealand flying over to meet me there. We're going to hopefully do Everest Base Camp, but it really depends if she's all right. So that's the next goal, hopefully.
Amazing.
Doing that in late September. So yeah, pretty excited for that. And then back to the States to visit some family, and to New Zealand for our summer, which will be winter in the US.